So once again, good evening. This is week 15, and this is our final Q&A session with Mr. Lawi Yako, who's also joined us via Zoom and from Port Moresby. It's a pleasure, Mr. Yako, to have you once again in our midst, and I'm sure the students have been learning a lot about the country and about our foreign policy and about the process of governance and managing our foreign relations. So without further delay, we'll go straight into our Q&A session. We'll start off with Crystal. Is Crystal online? Crystal is not online. Odelia, yes, she's online. So Miss Rennie, please go ahead with your questions and comments.
Thank you, Mr. Yagira. Good, good night, Mr. Ako, Mr. Yagira, and everyone. So I have 5 comments and 5 questions. I'll try my best to make it quick. So for the first one, I have 3 comments. That's to Group 4's presentation that they did on Tuesday. So I'll start. Firstly, under operational plan, on arms trafficking, specifically firearm control, where the description is enforce stricter licensing using digital registry pilot program in just 1 or 2 provinces first before expanding nationwide. From my own opinion, I think there will be a delay in the national impact, and it could eventually lead to persistent illegal firearm possession in 1 or more province that is not strict on licensing. So my second comment, from my opinion, there was a community engagement emphasis in the policy, and Group 4, you included churches and local leaders in arms trafficking prevention, which I believe reflects a culturally sensitive and grassroots approach. To my third comment, under the risk awareness section, the identification of risks associated with postcism in the policy implementation plan is insightful, and I believe it does highlight the need for structured governance. Okay, so on to my, I have 2 questions regarding the presentation that Group 4 made. However, it's directed to Mr. Ako. Okay, so under problem identification, Group 4 mentioned that despite the challenges such as secessionist movements in Papua Besana and Bougainville, PNG has sustained 50 years of parliamentary democracy without coups or dictatorships. So my question to Mr. Ako, the first one is how do you think PNG's foreign policy might change if PNG were governed by dictatorship instead of democracy? The second one is how do you think regional organizations like the Pacific Islands Forum would respond to a dictatorship in PNG? I'll let you answer that, and then I'll move on to my other questions and comments.
Okay, you can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, good. Well, afternoon, Olgeta. Okay, now to the question, if PNG was a dictatorship, how would it run? How would that affect its foreign policy? That's a very, very good question, because we all know what a dictatorship is like. There's no, it's a unilateral decision, and like in our phase 2, phase 3 lectures this semester, we mentioned that the reason why some countries go to war is simply because their foreign policy is enshrined in their constitution. So it's a forecast direction, and that's how it happens. So if it means we move this way, then you move that way, because a mama law working. Now that is following the law as per the mama law in the constitution. As a dictator, in the dictatorship, we all know that I'm one man decision now. So it depends on who starts aligning with us. And we all have seen over history that dictators bring along other dictators as allies. They don't want to deal, or they don't want to be allied to anyone that is that will go against their regime, or anyone that has democratic values in their system of government. Because yung bagarapin flow blow, ting blow la. So that means that our foreign policy, a foreign policy of a dictatorship runs one way according to the whims and wants of the dictator. And we can look at experiences like in North Korea or some of the African nations. No, their examples are very, very clear. Now, going to a second question with regards to PIF's thought on it, the Pacific Island Forum is ineffective. Okay, it cannot force anyone to do anything, according to my own personal point of view. I mean, firstly, when you look at its employment structure, it's made up of one particular region. No, you look at the makeup of the Pacific Island Forum administration, and you break it up into Melanesians, Micronesians, and Polynesians. Check and look at the ratio of people working in there. And I have always maintained the fact that working in, if you were dealing with a multilateral organization, then your thought must not be nationalistic as from your country, but it has to cover what the multilateral what that organization's objectives stand for. But it must also take into account the size of your economy. You know, there have been examples where smaller economies have been talking about doing this and that because the bigger economies are not following to, and it's simply because of size. So if we had a dictatorship form of government, the however much the PIF huffed and puffed, it won't bring the house tumbling down. Okay. The only reason, the only way multilateral organizations achieve a direction or work in a direction is through peer pressure. And peer pressure means diplomatic negotiations. So then it goes to the effectiveness of your diplomats, how effective they can go and negotiate a position, whether it's right or wrong. But if it's a national position, how effective they are where they can go and push that national interest through. You might have a big, your economy might be bigger in size, but if you have negotiators who are not up to the job, then we will not achieve the direction your economy wants to work in. So firstly, dictators will bring all the birds with one feather into one group, because that's how they align themselves. You know, you look at throughout history, you look at Libya, and you look at its diplomatic relations, and you will notice the similarities between the systems of government of the leaders who were aligned with Libya, and same goes to North Korea and all the others. So those are my opinion on your topic, on your question.
Thank you. So moving on. The next three questions are in terms of immigration and border control. So yeah, like the questions are like, yeah, just general. The first one is, what do you think about the PNG government and how it deals with sovereign right to control borders and its international obligations under refugee and human rights conventions? The second one, also to do with it, do you think PNG's border policies are designed more towards keeping people out or to help those in need? And the last one, the fifth question, what impact do PNG's border policies have on local communities living near border zones? Like, do you think they feel protected or burdened or, yeah, like that? Yeah, those are the three questions.
We have to look at the genesis of the immigration laws and how they came to be what they are. In 1993, in 1994, PNG and Australia commenced their immigration and citizenship computerization project in 1994. And 1994 means it's roughly 20 years after independence. Okay. So during that time, all the systems were being computerized. You had the entry permit issuance system, you had the travel automated system for the PNG passport, you had the entry permit renewal system, you had the EC visa permit at the airport, and the long-term residential visas. Those classes were instituted together with the assistance of OSAID. They made up those classes of visa categories, and they were installed into a system, a computerized system, and then they were installed throughout all the PNG embassies, about 19 of them then, throughout the world then, between 1995 and 1998. So during that time also, that same period also, where the Department of Foreign Affairs also instituted the review of the Immigration Act and how best it was balanced with the change of times then. From there, right up to 2025, the immigration systems have evolved. So they've been, right now, I think they're now run by, they've taken on board a more customs entry permit system. I wouldn't know that. I mentioned those 1995, 1994, 1998 computerization project well because I was the liaison officer. So from visas that were stamped on the passport and signed manually, you had visas that were applications that were typed on the computer system and printed out, and a sticker was printed out, and the sticker was taken off and stuck onto affixed to the passport and still signed manually. So that came up that way. So the main reason was that it was to answer your question. It was for border control. Right up to the time the visas were done electronically, you wouldn't know whether those passports and whether those visas were issued from a suburb, from one of the houses down the road at one of those clans in Hanobara, or it was issued from the office. Because anybody could manufacture the stamps, anybody could manufacture the passports. Okay. So the computerization project was in answer of your first question on border control. Okay. So now everybody, those without a stick-on visa means it was illegally issued. Okay. And then we had a security measures including in them, just like the machine-readable zones at the bottom of the visa stamps and all that. So those were part of Papua New Guinea's international obligations. Okay. And in terms of the immigration border policies, the Immigration Act and the related regulations were reviewed along the way, right up to now, what they are now. And you look at the change in the evolution of the institution, immigration institution. First, it was part in the 1990s. It was called the Immigration and Citizenship Division of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, or Foreign Affairs. It was a division within that department, and then over time, it evolved into an authority today, its own authority with its own minister. Okay. So in answer to your last question on the impact of the immigration laws on our border communities, I personally would think that life continues on at the border, and it's not because of from want of trying. It's because we are constrained financially to ensure that we patrol our 670 or 700-kilometer long border between us and Indonesia. So that affects them. There is the PNG and Indonesia have this joint border committee, or the JBC, or the border liaison meeting process. And then up in Wanimo, as far as I know, in the 1990s, they used to have this, what they call the traditional border crosser pass, TBC. I'm not aware today whether they're still being used or they've been converted into electronic passes. I'm not aware of that at the moment, but in terms of the impact of these immigration laws on border communities, I think improvement has been the issues have been improved and progressed, but there's still a lot more to be done, like in every aspect of our lives in Papua New Guinea. Okay.
So my comment number 4, based on this, I think there is a lack of clear, consistent alignment between migration policies and the national interest, as there is a risk for domestic instability, and it can be seen as the state prioritizing foreign capital over its own citizenry. That's just for my opinion. Yeah, so that's comment 4. Okay, so on to my last comment, which is comment number 5. I would like
What do you mean by that comment? What do you mean by
Sorry.
that, the comment you just made, the last comment regarding the state? What is the state doing over its communities?
I'll just repeat. I just said I think there is a lack of clear, consistent alignment between migration policies and national interest, as there is a risk for domestic instability, and it can be seen as the state prioritizing foreign capital over its own citizenry. Yes, so that's what I said. It's in terms of migration policies and like national interest. That's just what I think. So moving on to my last comment, I would like to just thank Mr. Ako and Mr. Yegera for the lessons and discussions we've had throughout the semester, and to my colleagues from the PGIS department. I've learned so much about foreign policy, and taking this unit has sparked an interest in learning more about PNG's foreign policy specifically. So yes, thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Miss Rani. We move on to Crystal. Crystal, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Mr. Ko and Mr. Yukiura. Uh, can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. I have a few comments. I have 7 comments and 3 questions. So the first comments are for the topic future trends in PNG foreign policy regarding the private sectors. So to my first question, I'll go to the questions, comments first and then the questions. So the first comment is the private sector, especially startups and digital entrepreneurs, can represent PNG abroad, forge new networks, and even influence how the country is perceived globally. By investing in innovation and working with private partners, PNG can position itself as a more dynamic and future-oriented nation on the world stage, and this can attract countries like Australia, China, or Japan in technology, partnership, and innovation, and can also be used as a diplomatic tool and not a domestic policy issue. My second comment, I think it's a smart move for PNG to continue on the 2018 APEC chairmanship through the era Connie statement. It shows that and moving on. Yes. My other comment, I like the idea of selective engagement because it shows PNG to focus only on the areas that matters most to us instead of stretching our limited resources trying to participate in everything. And to me, the decision to set up an APEC secretariat within the Prime Minister's department is important. It shows we want to make APEC related work more coordinated and effective and not just leave it to chance. And I believe having a roadmap up to 2030 is a good long-term strategy. It means PNG is planning ahead and treating foreign policy as something that could benefit the country in the long run. Overall, I feel this shows that PNG's foreign policy is maturing and we are no longer just reacting to global issues but are starting to shape our own direction in international forums like APEC. So I'll leave the last comment and I'll ask my first question. My first question is regarding the policy integration, which is how can PNG's foreign policy framework formally integrate private sector input without compromising national interest or public accountability?
Okay, we're talking about utilizing the private sector to drive PNG's foreign policy without compromising national interest, right? Okay, I assume that's a yes. So the the private sector, as we all know, is the engine of growth in any economy. And it relies on the policies and regulations the government does to warrant its existence in the economy and warrant its operations, which is the very reason why governments will always utilize their private sector in international fora as part of driving its national interest. So you look at the APEC process, as you mentioned. Within the APEC process, there's an institution an institution that's called ABAC or ABEC, which is the APEC Business Advisory Council. Now, all the economies have ABEC representations, and these economies, the membership of all those economies involves their premier business organizations and premier business people. And they have their own meeting structure throughout the year, but then at every end of the year, on the margins of the APEC leaders meeting, they have what they call the CEO Summit. So during the CEO Summit, all these leaders gather together, and as a region, they discuss how they can make how they can make their respective economics grow. And then after that meeting, they have in that same week they also have what they call APEC leader CEO dialogue. So in that dialogue, you share or you distribute preferably equally business and APEC leaders into their respective group. There might be 6 groups or 7 groups or even 10 groups, or made up of equal number of leaders, maybe 4 leaders, 4 businessmen, 4 leaders, 4 businessmen, and you give them topics. So they go into those sessions maybe for an hour, and they talk about those topics. So the topic might be, topic might be about supply chains. So one of the business people might be asking a leader, I have business interests coming into your economy, but your taxes, your domestic taxes are so high, and it's impeding my business, or it's impeding business in the region. How can we help to make it to allow you to lower it? So you see, so that they all share ideas, and then those ideas are put into the ABEC statements or ABEC CEO statements or communiques, and then they have to be acted upon through peer pressure. So that is involving the private sector in driving national interest and driving a foreign policy agenda. Okay, and that is something which everybody must aspire to know, that the private sector is not just your CEO of a company A trying to make more money by circumnavigating the economy's laws and regulations. Okay, of course, those happens throughout the world, but the private sector is there as the engine of growth in an economy, and it is there to complement the government's drive for national prosperity. Okay, so that's the answer to your question. My own point of view.
Thank you. Now to my last question, last comment, and 2 questions. My last comment is about the Book Treaty. My last comment is about the Book Treaty. I think the Book Treaty is a good step forward, but it's a bit concerning that it might make PNG too dependent on Australia, especially in areas like defense, policy, and cybersecurity. And it's important if we work together, but we also need to make sure that we can stand on our own. So my 2 questions are related, and The first question is, what are the long-term implications of the Pupuk Treaty for PNG's foreign policy independence? And the second one is, will this agreement allow PNG to play a stronger role in regional affairs, or will it depend reliance on Australia? Both of you can answer these questions in your own opinion on this one. Thank you.
So maybe I'll go first, Mr. Aguirre. The Pukpuk Treaty is our first security treaty signed by two parties, Papua New Guinea and Australia. Now, if you do your own research, you will realize that Australia also has other security treaties with other countries, which therefore means that it doesn't stop Papua New Guinea from having security treaties with other countries. So I find it hard to understand why there's a lot of critics talking about us becoming more reliant and all that. It's because we're looking at that treaty as in its singular form. If we step outside of our boxes and realize that we are the masters of our own destiny, we have our own foreign policy. And what does our foreign policy talk about? It talks about national interest. And national interest means what? We go out throughout the world to ensure that we secure the best possible deal for our people. So that means that you see, Australia has a security treaty with the US and New Zealand. It has a group of 5 security treaty with Singapore, Malaysia, New Zealand, and the UK. So based on that, I personally think that it should not stop Papua New to go and have another couple more treaties with other countries. But before that can happen, we have to come back and do our own homework. And I will go back to what I've been talking about these last 3 months. When I'm something like bilum blayu, or bilum blayu, you got enough. Or bayu ala yung misla bilum lo online natla or one pala ito solo pulumapim. No. We should encourage ourselves in not looking at things in a singular fashion. Okay. When we say, okay, now the first thing we should be saying, okay, may plus sign him alliance one time all right. House may plus face him house blue na you may be poroman that but may plus worry lo backside. So we'll go and sign another one with those neighbors across to the left, so that we can safeguard our border over there. And then we'll sign another one with these people here, and then we can safeguard it. So in that way, we'll be covered. Now, win by you, me. That's how we should be looking at it. You look at some of the comments we see on social media, and some of them are coming from security experts. Some are just people coming from people who are looking at it on face value and talking. And we should also look at that the genesis of that treaty and where it all started from. We must understand that the PNG Australia defense alliances or defense friendship comes from World War II. It was built on the Kokoda Ranges, Owen Stanley Ranges, tied in blood and brought forward. Okay, so when the Papua Infantry Battalion was demobbed in 1946, the Australian government only waited another 4 years before starting the Pacific Island Regiment again in 1951. So the PNGDF, if I can rightfully say, based on history, is built up, was created by the Australian government. And all these assistance, let me rephrase it. The Australian government has been looking after the PNGDF from 1951 right up to independence, right up to now, through the defense cooperation programs. And the treaty only solidifies that. That's how I see it, how I view it. Okay, now that its text, the text in there can be debatable, but overall, it's just maybe I can say it's just the promotion of the competition to a next level. And that doesn't stop, like I said, that doesn't stop Papua New Guinea from seeking other similar treaties with other countries to safeguard its own national interest. Look him. If people are saying that this is a win-win situation, that's fine. It's win-win for us and Australia. But how is it win-win between us and our bilateral partners, say in the Solomon Islands, up north with the US, with the Indonesian, with the Philippines, with all that? How is it win-win for us when it comes to our multilateral relations? Those have to be looked at, and then separate game plans written for that to go to secure PNG's national interest abroad. So you look him. So amidst this treaty, nothing really mattered in terms of PNG's sovereignty. You know, no one impinged on PNG's sovereignty when PNG went and voted in favor of Israel at the UN. Australia voted for the Palestinian homeland. We voted for our national stance on Israel. The treaty did not influence that. So with regards to that, my own personal views, you know, there are other people more experienced and more expert, have more expertise in this matter, who will criticize my thoughts. That's fine. But according to my layman's view of the situation, that's how it is. All right, Crystal?
Thank you, Mr. Akko. And that's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Crystal. Please, Jerome, go ahead.
Good night, everyone, and good night, Mr. Ako and Mr. Yagora. One fun thing, I just looked myself out while the lesson was going on and just came in, so I am sweating here. I have 3 comments to make and 2 questions to ask. So my comments and questions is based on the last lesson on future trends in PNG's foreign policy. So my first comment is that I think that PNG's increasing engagement with regional organizations like the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or Asian and Pacific Islands Forum indicates a shift towards more multilateral diplomacy aimed at regional stability and development because PNG is recognizing the importance of working collaboratively with the neighboring countries and regional bodies to address some set challenges such as economic development, security, and environmental issues. So, by participating actively in organizations like ASEAN and Pacific Islands Forum, PNG can uh, amplify its voice, access development aid, and foster regional cooperation, which is vital for its national interest. So that is the first comment. And the second comment is I think that the country's strategic location and natural resources are likely to make energy security and resources management key priorities in its foreign policy as we move forward. Because PNG's abundant natural resources, including minerals, timber, and fisheries, position it as a a significant player in regional resources markets. So its geographical location also makes it a strategic partner in energy transit and security. So as a global demand for resources grows and energy markets evolve, PNG's foreign policy will likely focus on ensuring access to technology investment and markets to develop and manage these resources sustainably and profitably. So that is one comment regarding our future trends in PNG's foreign policy regarding the resources. And the final comment is PNG's efforts to balance relations between major powers such as Australia, China, and Australia and China will be crucial in maintaining sovereignty and securing economic benefits because PNG is situated in a uh, geopolitically sensitive area with the influence from several global powers, and it will need to carefully navigate its diplomatic relations to maximize benefits, such as aid and investments and the security corporations. And yes, moving on to the fourth comment is I think that Kenya's foreign policy, I think it will likely to prioritize climate diplomacy, seeking international support, climate finance, and collaborative efforts to adapt adapt to and mitigate environmental impacts while also advocating for global climate action because PNG faces significant environmental challenges due to climate change, including rising sea levels and other natural disasters. Thank you. That's my four comments. And moving on to questions, I have two questions. For the first question reads, how can Papua New Guinea ensure that its foreign policy advances national development goals without compromising its sovereignty or environmental sustainability? That's my first question.
Jerome, I think or let me answer that before you continue, or you ask all of them, Pastor?
You can answer that one and I can move on to the next question.
Yeah, sure. I think the simple answer to your first question is uh, en- ensuring that the MTDP4 and all its strategies and activities are implemented successfully. Because if you go to the MTDP4 and the SPAs, they all talk about national development and its priorities. So yeah, if we maintain our focus on implementing all those SPAs, then we will not be able to compromise our national interests with foreign powers. That's how I see it from a high level. Of course, in the course of implementing, because we have more than 19 provinces, and it depends on how the piece of the pie is distributed throughout those provinces in terms of funding. Then there might be some inequalities, and then we have to look at going back to Odilia. I think is her a question on border security and all that. Because if we we are saying that implement all the activities in the MTDP4 and everything will work out well. Okay, that's fine. But what's going to stop logging ships from coming in illegally cutting down trees, putting them, paying some coins to the landowners, and then taking off without being monitored? That's import duties gone. Those are customs taxes been not collected because already coming free high more lognal take off. So those are the things we need to polish first. But again, in answering my own query, we will realize also that in the SPAs, it talks about putting more resources into law enforcement. And by law enforcement, I don't mean the police alone, but I mean NACIA, immigration, and all those other law enforcement agencies, customs, so that to help them police all these gaps properly. So that's my answer to your first question.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. Moving on to my second question. My second question reads, how will PNG navigate its relationship with China and Australia amid increasing geopolitical competition in the Pacific?
That is a very, very strong and important question. Why? Because China will host APEC next year. China is hosting APEC for the third time next year. So you can imagine what is going through, or what people might be envisaging during China's host year when it starts in December this year. You consider the trade ministers meeting in May next year, where the Chinese will be chairing, and they will have to hold bilaterals with all the ministers. And then you bring it down to the leaders meeting again next year, where the China's host President Xi Jinping will be having bilaterals with all the leaders, including Papua New Guinea. So now is a time when our diplomats must start thinking strategically of ensuring that we attend the Chinese APEC host here with enough in our bilums to maintain our bilateral relations with the biggest economy in the world, and also to ensure that our relationship is not affected by the Pukpuk Treaty. How PNG intends to go about it? Staplo handle foreign service officers, staplo handle man usad bago attend these all meetings, or staplo handle line who will be engaging with the Chinese during multilateral engagement. Okay, because in APEC next year APEC MPAS you banana plo sidestep him, and China host there next year. So definitely from the working group level right up to the senior officer level, right up to the committee level, to the SOM level, to the ministerial level, to the leaders, at the bilateral meetings, those the Pukpuk Treaty will come up at the bilateral meeting. But during the plenary, it's always the APEC plenary is a focus on economy. So no one will raise anything on climate change, nothing on human rights, nothing on domestic issues in terms of security, and nothing on security. It will be all based on the economy and covered in the agenda of the host year that year. But during the bilaterals, during the bilateral meetings between its economy, everything goes under the sun. You see. So if if the economies are going to attend the economies are now preparing to attend the APEC leaders meeting in Korea next month. They've already made appointments in April, May for leaders to meet, and during the appointments, agendas have been exchanged. So the bilateral meeting between economy A and economy B, the agenda might be on climate funding, looking at a bilateral security review. All these are non-APEC matters. So because of the agendas, both economies will bring their experts, and the experts will go purposely to attend those bilateral and then leave again. So on the bilateral, or on the margins of all those APEC leaders and ministerial meetings, they hold those meetings and they discuss everything of mutual interest under the sun, which affects both economies. So that will be discussed there. So like I'm saying, with the now that China is hosting APEC, there is no way during bilateral meetings that that topic might be avoided. We just economists just have to hope that the topic they are dreading should not be raised, because the politicians, they are politicians. They might not follow the script. They will read it and say, "Oh, by the way, also, what do you think about this?" And everybody's caught by surprise. Huh? I always attended back in when I was with in the APEC system. I won't name the minister, but the minister was had good mates from another economy. So when these two friends met, they will discuss one agenda and then start talking about other things, go around and come back to the second agenda, they'll talk about other things. And then you can see the note takers on both sides fidgeting and their body language. But so that's what happens. If you go to the other forums, like the WTO or like ASEAN Plus, all those topics will come out. So I'll go back to my advice, which I've been given this last couple of months. When you want to organize an agenda, make sure that you have held interagency meetings. Now the interagency has agreed that that's a gap. Now we go ask him, help him, lol. Now once you put that down in the agenda, get the experts, maximum experts go na maki mouse believe me. Just because you are from the foreign service, it does not warrant you to go and sit and talk about agriculture or talk about health or talk about climate change when you are not the expert. Look, if it's about a trip, okay, go, but carry on the expert count in Hitler want them go. Now, when you're sitting in front and when the topic comes and it says PNG has a statement, you say, I will now hand over the mic to our expert on this. And then you sign up. Now, Lucy expert comes, sit down. You must stand and make a show of it so that the people sitting there will know that, oh, they brought the experts. Or say, not la mouseman kirap, na real expert comes in on. In that way, you are promoting our expertise. Everybody in the table will see that, oh, they brought the experts and now the expert is talking and the expert is talking meaningfully. Just because you are the foreign you are a diplomat or you're the foreign service, it does not entitle you lokisim commentary blow all man talk okay karem commissioner lo baksa na talk. Because when the Q&A starts, that's when the shit hits the fan. And you don't want to see the scratch in your head and listening to answer here and talking on the mic and talking. No, you get the expert and expert will talk. In that way, a Mickey Mouse believe me and everything's okay. Now there are situations where the expert will not attend, and I went through those two situations already. The first time I was very green. That was back in 2011 in Honolulu, and I was waiting for the person who was supposed to stand in for the foreign minister. It was in the U.S. The embassy in Washington had informed the State Department that, yes, our ambassador will represent us. Foreign minister is not coming. So Mr. Go, or Mangilo State Department come to us, Madam Clinton, but starting meeting now. Na seat blue play empty. Na mitot mo wait. Mane ba come? First time, second time, third time, fourth time, all boys to State Department kind of reminding me to okay, lahui please rep where. Me to keep la wet. Me go find me run away. It's public notice. I written it in my book. I took off. I left that place and I took off. And I had my reason. Firstly, I had no accreditation to sit in that chair. You see, the State Department had no knowledge of Lahuya for sitting in there. They did know that a diplomatic note had come and Ambassador so-and-so, basinda, lumaki mouse po papanili, AMM meeting. Lahu ako. So I was not going to fall into the trap of, or State Department was, alright, Madam Clinton, you can come sit down. I was not going to fall into that. So me run away. So try for 10:30 in the morning. Look, they waited, meeting started and they kept on asking us for 1 hour. So that 10:30, me go back to Trump. We were in the Trump Hotel on Waikiki. I went back there. I changed into beachwear and a cut shirt, and I was walking towards the beach. It's public knowledge. It's written in my books. I might as well tell it here. So I was walking towards the beach, and lo and behold, the person who was supposed to be sitting there calls me from the hotel. And he says, Lowy. And I turn around. And he kept on waving. I kept on walking. And he turned around and says, Lowy. And when I turned around, I realized him, and he went like this. Minna bloki mexin, but misuti hanlem na miwabag gulo nambis. Fact. I walked to the beach. So those things happen. So the following day, I got a year bashing from my cousin, Ambassador Robert IC from New York. Ambassador Robert IC, and Mama Blum, to cousin, and Big Blum. So he found out. So he called me. Lucky I'm calling me. If it was face-to-face, no, I'm fighting me finish. I'm calling me and I'm talk. When these sort of situations happen, you go sit down and make mouse the country, regardless of you know got right or something. Okay, Mila complain again, he am using this example. Imagine that you could defend him on the gap now because the defender who's supposed to stand up was like gap no stop, and you know that gap stop, and yet because namely no stop, you lose him all man come to lose like gap. How would you feel to okay to Cox and to me wrong, please? I will never make the do the same mistake again. So I learned my lesson there, and then over the years, I on 2 occasions, the ministers never turned up. One on an APEC agriculture ministers meeting, one again Latin telecommunication ministers meeting, both overseas. So when I found out, I mean, the meetings were in a couple of hours time, me ring him all mangi, hey, minister no come up with no boss, okay, go run, go to office for minister and get these talking points now. On 2 occasions, I was on one of my messenger. So mangi yoklo typing, me yoklo talk. And on those 2, on 1 occasion, I was accredited. And the other one, my test came, no got accreditation come. So I said, I'm going to do it smarter. I went, I saw the some chain, mate, bro, no got accreditation. So me come, verbally talking me by representing minister. And you went. So I'll go back talking minister, but I'm all right, I can go sit down. So me going to sit down. So I learned from that huge mistake in 2011, I made sure I made up for it, but it's still a regret. You know, I wish I could rewind the time back to 2011. Now go sit down again, okay? Because in that evening, when we were walking towards the reception, I met up with my U.S. colleague. I met up, I bumped up, or kind blow, all finding me gonna gaman bumping me, bump me, Lord is la road there. But hey, by the way, hey, hello, hey, you can no come, you no come no meeting no morning to commit. I me no got paper. I wasn't authorized to sit there. It came all right, but Madam Clinton, it came all right. You should have come and sit down. It came all right, but you think him side blame it. So we didn't come and sit down. Bahati me lo place here. And when me again case when me go, I am understand and I understood. And then the year question I got from Ambassador IC the following day, lining me. So over the next 10 years after that, when those 2 occasions happened, I made amends and I covered up. So that is talking about. I digressed a bit from my answering the question, but I thought it covered what you were asking in terms of national interest, the overarching law of national interest against your personal fears, and the technicalities of protocol guidance in those type of situations. Am I right, Jerome? At least you are really talk to Munablomi.
Yes, yes. Thank you for the interesting feedback. I appreciate that. I have another extra question, but I see that the list is so long, so I'll carry there. And yes, thank you very much for your time and time throughout this semester. I appreciate and your time, and for Mr. Yagora as well. It's a wonderful experience for us in sharing our thoughts and opinions, especially online using Zoom and all this. So it was my first time using the screen sharing last time, and I appreciate that experience. And I look forward to another session in the future. So thank you everyone, and thank you, Mr. Ako. Have a wonderful night.
No worries. No worries. I beat you to it by 5 years of experience. And secondly, secondly, please, all of you, do not hesitate to inbox me. Okay. The Mr. Egger, I did not, I forgot to mention it, but I've had this last 2 weeks, I've had a lot of WhatsApp, Messenger queries from the YouTube lectures. People have been inboxing me directly to ask about things, ask about those issues we are discussing. So anytime between now and next year or 2 years time or 3 years time, inbox me. I got no problems with that. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jerome.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Mr. Ako. Amy, let's listen to Amy.
Yes, Mr. Yagiora. Thank you and good night to you all. Good night, Mr. Ako. So I'll move on straight into my comments and my questions. To begin with, in a trending video on TikTok during Australia's parliament sitting, this question was directed to Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister of Australia, Honorable Richard Marles. What is the importance of the defence treaty between Australia and PNG? And what impact will it have on our Australia Defence Force? In his response to this, the minister answered, the signing of the Puk Treaty by the PNG and the Australia is under Article 4, which contains a mutual defense obligation, giving it a character of an alliance. The first alliance into which Australia has entered since 1st of September 1951, when Australians signed the Anzac Treaty 74 years ago. This means that PNG is now Australia's third ally, along with United States and New Zealand. This is deeply historic, but also perfectly natural, because it is unthinkable that any Australian government today or in the future would regard an attack on PNG as somehow not engaging their national interest. That is what the Minister of Defense said. So this is how the Australian minister salutes the Puk Treaty, and I just wanted to share this with all of us. Leading on to my comment 2, ABC reported on Monday, 6th of October, that the Australian government sees this agreement as a major strategic victory, establishing its position as PNG's key defense partner and making it much harder for China to deepen up defense cooperation with Port Moresby. But they also reported that Mr. Marapeo, our Prime Minister, said that he had been transparent with China about the treaty and that he wanted to maintain close ties with Beijing, saying the document was not designed to exclude anyone and that he had no intent of creating enemies elsewhere. So from my opinion, there should be more clarification in reporting this treaty, especially to our Papua New Guinea citizens, to understand our relationship with Australia. Now I will ask 3 questions relating to this. Question number 1, what safeguards should be in place to prevent PNG from being drawn into external conflicts through defense treaties? And question number 2, how is PNG positioning itself within the Pacific Islands Forum and other regional bodies amid rising competition between Australia and China? And number 3, what role should communicators and journalists play in helping the public understand the treaty's impact on PNG's future?
Amy, you'll need to go a bit slow on the question. Can you repeat the first one again?
I can repeat the question. So question number 1, what safeguards should be in place to prevent PNG from being drawn into external conflicts through defense treaties? I'll let you answer this first.
I think the simple answer to that is the Constitution. The Constitution followed by the foreign policy. I say that because in some discussions with some military personnel, they said that the Pupuk Treaty is just strengthening what or strengthening or I think I used the word strengthening. It's just strengthening what the Australia Defense Program has been doing for the last 20 years. Now, if you think if your thoughts are on now, if your thoughts are on safeguards as in not obstacles but checkpoints, then I'm assuming our legal system should cover for that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Can I move on to my second question?
Go ahead.
How is PNG positioning itself within the Pacific Islands Forum and other regional bodies amid rising competition between China and Australia?
On the we've been issuing the word on the eve of our new foreign policy, but I'll use it again. On the eve of the launching of our new foreign policy white paper, that should provide us a new position of doing it. I think Mr. Henao did talk about the new foreign policy white paper to focus on the fulcrum. And the fulcrum, as we all know, according to his explanation, is all about balancing. It's all about balancing or pivoting our influence into a particular region of that. So if we are using the if we're going to use the Pacific Island region as a whole, then we have to be mindful of the fact that we now have a treaty with Australia, who lies to our south, and Australia has a security treaty with New Zealand, who lies to our southeast. And you have the NZUS to worry about with the US, which lies to our north. So you see, it covers the whole of the Pacific Island region. And with the signing of the Pupuk Treaty, then we connect to them, they connect to them, they connect to. So it's a connection effort. Okay, so that's how it will affect our relationship in the Pacific. Of course, it could change our relationship for the better. Who knows? I mean, now Mangilo one solo wara but also may olena got new big brother ya. You know. So by me no can play lo should be play on Timor lo big bro dole now start with all signing agreement. So that might be good for us, or it might not be good for us, or that might even cause some of might even influence some of our Pacific Island neighbors in going out and looking for treaties of their own with people with other economies besides Australia and New Zealand. that could affect it that way. So there's a lot of possibilities that can come out from the treaty, which will affect our standing in the Pacific Island region, which can also influence others from within that region to go out looking for treaties of their own with other economies not in the region.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. I'll move on to my third question. From your opinion, what role should communicators and journalists play in helping the public understand the treaty's impact on PNG's future? I just want to get your view on this.
Your question is, what role do the journalists play?
Yes, and communicators, yeah.
Communicators.
Yes, play in helping the public understand the treaty's impact on PNG's future.
I think that's been done now at the moment. We have experts. A couple of days ago we had the Foreign Secretary, Mr. Wohengo, coming out publicly, maybe on social media also, through a press release explaining the treaty in a more simple terms. We have experts and academics talking on radio, like Mr. Yeager has mentioned that he's gone on radio already and will be talking again. We also have, I think, Mr. Kabuni talking tomorrow as well on it. So, but we need more, you see, we need more of people doing that. But there's a but in it. It depends on the newspapers also. Our newspapers are foreign owned. So the editors will always go with the company's interest. Okay, now if we had our own papers, or if you have your own papers, okay, you can print in there, but whether you have the marketability of your paper, that's another question. Okay, so the role is there for everyone, including you and I, like what we are doing now. We are debating this issue, and hopefully once we post it on YouTube, we'll be having other comments from other people, you know, criticizing it or supporting it. And it's all for the better, because it gives everyone between now and whenever the treaty is to be reviewed. The reviewers in, let's say, 4 years' time, or 3 years' time, or 2 years' time, the reviewers are going to look back to October 2025 and start downloading all the commentaries from YouTube, from the newspapers, from social media, and then going through them and then finding out what is the common denominator in play here and what should we change to support it. That is one aspect of reviewing any policy or any treaty. But then we don't know what 2 years time holds for us. 2 years time, the situation might change in the region. For instance, in 2 years time, we might have 3 Pacific Island countries having security treaties with some of the economies not in this region. Then situation might change, yeah? Or the other way around, we might have another 3 Pacific Island countries having treaties with similar to the Pukuk Treaty. The only thing which strategic minded people like you and me should do is to monitor the situation daily, taking notes, coming up with scenarios, scenario playing, scenario building, and then watching them develop as we go along. So that's how I would answer your question, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Ako, for your answers. Now I will just share a few general comments on the topic faith-based diplomacy by Mr. Enau. My comment 3, faith-based diplomacy uses religious values like compassion, justice, and forgiveness to help solve political problems and promote peace. PNG's village court system already blends spiritual values with justice. Elders often invoke Christian teachings alongside customary law. From my view, faith-based diplomacy could strengthen this by promoting reconciliation in tribal conflicts. Onto my comment 4, intersectionality is the idea that people can face many kinds of discrimination at once, like being treated unfairly because of race, gender, or class. This is according to Crenshaw 1991. In PNG, rural women face layered discrimination, limited access to education, healthcare, and political voice. So intersectionality helps us see these overlapping barriers. And onto my comment 5. Faith influences foreign policy in the Pacific by grounding diplomacy in Christian values like justice, peace, and stewardship. In Papua New Guinea, church leaders have supported peace efforts, for example, in Bougainville, and shaped public dialogue on climate and development. This is according to Joskolska 2023. PNG's embassy in Jerusalem reflects how spiritual beliefs guide international alliances. Kin and Tidwell 2022. And I believe across the region, churches act as moral voices and trusted partners in diplomacy, especially in rural and post-conflict settings. This is all from my end. Thank you, Mr. Akor and Mr. Yegura, for having us this semester. I believe we all have learned a lot from you both. And on behalf of CA4s, thank you, and we wish you both God blessings. And thank you to the PGIS colleagues also, like him.
Amy, just to add on to what you said about the village court system, we must also be mindful of the fact that the village court system is based on consensus and mediation. Any decision by the village court magistrates are always contested, either on the spot or behind law house line. And for our village court system in Hanover, oh, it's a fun day for everyone. Taimol hari mo sem village court bakama polman sa go pula but the most interesting mediation or the court session to what are those concerning drinking and adultery. Emol man sa go pula plaharim. Sa Pelesia, so people can stay the whole day just listening and laughing, and it's a big fun day for us. So maybe that's the reason why village court systems are not taken seriously. But anyway, Amy, thank you for your kind words, and continue to be in touch in anything you want to know. If I don't know, I'll forward you to the experts to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, and welcome as well. Let's listen to Yvonne. Yvonne, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Yagira. Once again, good evening, Mr. Ako and Mr. Yagira. I have 6 comments and 6 questions to make. So I'll start off with the comments. The first one being on the policy. It's just my opinion, or it just reminded me, the term reminded me of a phrase that we went on from last semester: security is subjective. I think that they correlate, and Fulcrum policies, there are more practical aspects of this phrase. The second comment is on, faith-based diplomacy. The decision to open the embassy in Jerusalem is a clear example of domestic priorities and systems overriding international consensus. This is a fascinating fact. It's just that even for a smaller nation, internal policy drives can be more potent than the established rule-based international order. The third question still on faith-based policy, diplomacy, cultural goals. The lecture frames PNG's foreign policy decision-making through the lens of global culture wars, specifically the right-wing Judeo-Christian value system prevailing over left-wing critical race theory, or intersectionality somewhere in the beginning. While in full, this reflects a complex geopolitical issues. Other comments are on trends on peace policy. First one being the Marape government's 500 billion kina economic target by 2045 and the declaration of 2025 as the year of reset creates a powerful mandate for foreign policy. However, the lecturer notes the challenge of aggressively pursuing free trade agreements and maximizing market access for non-extractive sectors like agriculture and tourism. Converting this ambitious economic vision into action requires unprecedented coordination between the FAT and the trade ministers. My fifth comment. So the critique regarding the bureaucracy lack of follow through and the weakness of system is a core structural issue. The proposal to adopt an organizational project management framework with built-in monitoring and evaluation is a critical reform for ensuring accountability. Foreign policy success will ultimately depend on how well this OPM mindset is institutionalized, not just in DFAT, but across all agencies involved in external engagements. And the last point is the APEC 2018 era statement and the resulting PNG foreign policy on APEC FPA provided a strong domestically anchored strategic blueprint. This legacy has also cultivated a core group of APEC trained officers with valuable institutional knowledge. Leveraging this experience, human capital is crucial for navigating the rise of great power competition in the Pacific, a challenge that requires careful diplomatic balancing. So moving on to my questions. I have 6 questions. So the first one, in your own opinion, what are the main differences or key differences of foreign policy for core development states and underdeveloped states?
Yvonne, repeat that. That's a very interesting thing because I mentioned you talking about foreign policy in poor or least developed states. Could you repeat it again?
The question is, in your own opinion, what are the main differences or key differences of foreign policy for core developed states and underdeveloped states?
In my own opinion, I think that will go back to economic statecraft. Okay, because poor economies or underdeveloped states or economies will always have provided opportunity for aid donors to provide them assistance. So then it will all really be a matter of carrots or sticks in place. And so once the carrots and sticks go in place, then it affects their own ability or capability on foreign policy. I mean, you look at our situation at the moment. We are a middle or lower middle income economy, so we have a bit of leverage. Not that much, but still we have a bit of leverage so that when aid donors come in with their wheelbarrow full of goodies, we consider them properly, and then some plan you must accept them, some plan nogat. But online nogat through yeah, you know, they'll just have to accept it because they look at their family, overlooking house blown, the kitchen blown, run down, or nogat or plate, spoon, cup, lokai, so they will require those things. So then it affects their interactions in the international arena. I mean, you look at how we organized APEC in 2018, and then Prime Minister O'Neill invited his Pacific Island colleagues to come. And when they arrived, you know, most had no care of protocols. You know, all no care of protocols. You had our protocol officers happy names because I won't name their countries. I mean, one country arrived, triple bagaros come outside. Instead of walking straight into the APEC house lo kamata bol sana lo tim selfie stuff. So while they were getting selfies, they had I think they had about a 2 minute turnaround time before the next convoy was directed in. So what all sim selfies start all all sim time 2 or 3 not countries, and then time will take off not kam na lapun man tumas em kamata Mary blame na mindas blow. The lady in waiting, so all this is come outside, nice go. But luckily, I had already previously when we were preparing, I knew that mane balapun, so me talking about boys, lo counting more steps, lo from car go lo lift, and then from the lift go up, and then from the lift to the waiting area. So the boys knew the number of steps. So all kisim big money goals, but you see, that's the difference between us, Papua New Guineans, and them. There is no equality. Christians principles and stuff, but in terms of foreign policy, there is no equality. And then when we went into, they were all invited to come and attend the PIF APEC leaders dialogue. So time will come, you could see the difference in protocols again, and the carefree attitude of the Pacific Islanders, or our Pacific way, yeah. You knew very well that all talks I finished to you that once you go in, sit please tap lahap. Okay. So you could see that all on the other side, them all mangi APEC all sit down. Now all mangi blimi once all water blimi come all go backside all mangi APEC all to sing out low late wave now not patok emia come sit here. Now the seats were two. Some came in threes. And then one plus ball comes in, 2 plus in, and the other one started pulling the other seat. Me took no, say that's not it. There are 2 seats, meaning what? 2 seats. One plus God said, no waiting 2 plus boss blue outside the waiting room. So you see, so carefree attitude against a protocol attitude, and that goes to answering question below in terms of foreign policy implementation between this level of economic development against the higher level of economic development. Okay, so I hope that should provide a picture of how it happens. But carrots and sticks would be my guess. That would play a lot in influencing any relationship from there.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. On to my second question. What are the key defining characteristics that set foreign policy apart from domestic policy areas such as education, health, or economic policies?
I'll repeat, what are the key defining policies? Could you repeat it? You mentioned education and other policies as against compared with foreign policy, or I did not catch your question.
What are the key defining characteristics that set foreign policy apart from domestic policies, areas such as education and health?
Okay, the key defining characteristics in terms of foreign policy as against domestic policies like education is you look at the scholarship schemes of donor countries. So that aligns their respective domestic policy on education, say in China, and trying to align that with our educational policies, and they see the gaps, so they align for scholarships to go that way. Same with the Australian awards, and maybe the New Zealand scholarships. And well, those are the 3 men. They're Indonesians and Malaysians, but the traffic is not that much. And then you start comparing the level of allowances. The time when Mr. Yegiora and maybe Dr. Wola Momi was there, I think they were getting what, 600 or 800 renminbi a month, Mr. Yegiora. And then by the time I had left in 2006, they were earning 1,200 renminbi a month. So it was developing. And then when my daughters were there 3 to 4 years ago before they returned, they were already earning 2,000 renminbi a month. So those are the telling factors in terms of the domestic policies as compared to aligned to the foreign policy of the donor countries. Now, the major difference between the Chinese scholarships and the Australian award scheme is that the Chinese scholarship, they provide accommodation and allowances free. Accommodation is free. While the Australian, I think the New Zealand one, you have to, it's built into your overall allowances. And I say that because my elder daughter, she was renting her own apartment during her last 2 years at the university in China, which meant that they were getting enough to do that. But those students during my time when I was in China, it was not enough to even rent an apartment, unless it was a group of them living in an apartment. They would, but there's an individual, no one. So that is in answer to the telling difference in foreign policy as compared to the domestic policies on education and health. And you need to break that domestic policy up between our domestic policy and the domestic policy of the donor country, providing that scholarship or providing that assistance to that. Because remember, the bottom line is that that donor coming from that assistance coming from the donor country, that's them driving the foreign policy agenda. Okay.
Even enter solar. Or any more
Mr.
questions?
Then, yeah, I didn't hear you finish answer.
Oh.
So, thank you, Mr. Ako. The third question is, in what ways has globalization influenced evolution of priorities in different countries?
Sorry, Yvonne, your voice broke. So can you repeat, please?
Sorry, it's the network. What ways has globalization influenced the evolution of policy priorities in countries?
Sorry, Yvonne, you need to repeat again. Your voice broke due to network, so I couldn't hear it properly. Hear your question properly.
Net keeps playing up and I went out again. I'll repeat the question. The question is, in what ways has globalization influenced evolution of foreign policy priorities in different countries? Is it clear?
Okay, I did not hear you properly, but I think I took your question to mean in what ways is globalization influencing foreign policy?
Yes, Mr. Ako.
All right, great. Well, we all know that globalization's general definition is the easy, or not the easy, just the movement of goods and services across the world. That's a simple that will be the simple explanation of definition of globalization, moving goods and services across the world. So how it influences foreign policy, it touches on the private sector's involvement as part of the economies or part of the country's foreign policy team, because the private sector of any country does business, and business means export import of goods and services across international boundaries. And then it goes back to the question of developing economy as against least developed economy as against a developed economy. So a developed economy would have developed infrastructure, multinational companies, multi-billion dollar companies or multi-million dollar companies in the economy who have the capability of moving goods and services across boundaries efficiently and seamlessly through their supply and value chains. You may, as a lower middle income economy or middle income economy, we don't have that much, and then you compare it to the others. So with that easy movement of goods and services across international boundaries, then that enables you to have a proper and effective policies, national policies in place, domestic policies, to support your foreign policy, and also vice versa coming in. Because because belum pull up, you don't need to bow down to any sticks in economic statecraft, because you got leverage stuff, because your economy is at developed enough at a level where you can be self-reliant, or you can say that let's do 50-50. Let's pay for this investment 50-50, not 80-20 in your favor, because me tugat, na you tugat. So when we're looking at a least developed economy, it will be 20% blow, maybe 20% blow providing ground, 80% lo investor lo USIM lo providing goods and services project lo this area. Of course, with the returns being in the same ratio, 20-80. So that's the influence, or that's the impact of globalization in foreign policy in different economy, or in different economies with different economic development standards. Okay, me put in motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. On to my fourth question. What economic tools has PNG used the most frequently in its own regional diplomacy, foreign aid, trade deals, infrastructure investment, or others? I am curious to know.
I think the most popular one of all would be our oil, gas, and mine resources. But then those ones have already been tied down with major investors over the years because they take long time. And then the next would be our agriculture products. Those would be our economic leverages we can use to support that. Apart from that, we have a vast area of landmass of mountains and beaches and rivers, which could be converted into economic benefit for the people. So it's not all gloom for us. We have opportunities there. We just need to send learn more about how to utilize those and convert them into our own benefit. And in that way, we can also use it as economic statecraft within our Pacific Island region, or even in the Asia Pacific during our international interactions and deliberations.
Thank you. On to my fifth question. What are some of PNG's challenges when it comes to economic statecraft?
We all know the Papua New Guineans' traditional attachment to land. Okay, and within Papua New Guinea, we know that land is also depends on the matrilineal or patrilineal aspect of the area. The biggest challenge of it all is when investors come in and pay peanuts for a land to be used for development. I do not want to equate this with our own internal sale of land, because that's another big issue. But when we're talking about economic statecraft, we're talking about across borders. So that is something which we have. That's the biggest challenge which we need to monitor carefully and fix. Also, the ownership, the land ownership, that we want people to be honest, so that the investor can deal with the rightful owners of the land. We have examples of in our own village here, even today, just over the last 12 months, there's been a group of families who have been getting benefits from land sales. And by right, they should. But I think the improprieties they have gone through is that they have not disclosed the whole family tree. All you see, family tree, I'm not 10 plaman, all just talking, me plan 5 plaman, so then they hit this other 5. So those are the things which we have to have a strong checkpoints, checks on them, so that everybody must benefit. And I know very well that I know and I understand and appreciate the fact that most of the genuine and the real Papa ground are illiterate. And that's our biggest challenge also, in those family members who are literate, in supporting those uncles and informing them that, big uncle and something also. So, then corruption happens. But in terms of economic statecraft, we are yet to, we are doing providing carrots at a very, very low level, but it would be nice for us to share some of our proceeds more liberally among the Pacific Island countries, and then see how we can move the economic statecraft angle in that area. Okay, one.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. And the last question is, as a practitioner, and a very good one at that, what can you recommend PNG do to better align its domestic economic policy with its foreign policy ambitions in the Pacific.
That's a heavy one. That's my own opinion. No, publicly, it's my own opinion. Is that we have experts who have developed our development plans, and they are there for us to utilize. So the only way to do them is to utilize them and implement them. See, part of our problem is that we're just looking at them at face value and to them not work without even trying them. We need to try and discover that them no work before we come back and readjust the plan and do it again. Part of the challenge which we went through from 1982 right up to this year in terms of foreign policy white paper was that we did not bring the implementation down to the tactical and operational level of the active and selective engagement. Yes, we were doing them practically, but to do them as a plan. But then it's understandable because project management and adaptive management, change management were not that popular in the 1980s and 1990s. Okay, maybe they were there, but they were known in different terminologies which we Papua New Guineans were not used to back then. But in this century or in this decade, we have countless PhD holders, we have countless certified project managers who can all come together and support this new foreign policy white paper in the way we want it to run. And you see, the advantage we have against our fathers in the 1980s, we have the MTDPs. They didn't. Look him. We have let's say we have 100 doctorates, PhD holders. They never had. They might have only 5. So according to we should not be comparing, but we just said that the best practice that time we will now change it into a better practice now to support it. So in that way, we look at our past to fix our future, and that's history. Because we can't compare and say that before line not working good, because before line circumstances were different. Some of the reasons I mentioned already, or maybe they never had any treaty back then. We have the treaty, and anybody could argue it for in their right to argue it, but they never had a treaty. We have a treaty. They had X number of qualified persons. We have bigger number of qualified persons. So we have no excuse. Our interactions in the well are now more faster, quicker because of like this, you see. They never had this lecture mode in the 1980s, 1990s. They had to travel. So suppose no one money, no one would go. But you see, for us, we're just talking real time. And information is going back and forth. So we have those advantages, or we have the best practice now from things we thought were not best practice back then. So our idea now is to get those, put them into implementation plans like the 5 group projects you've done, and implement them. So these 5 group projects, okay, you plug on in your own time, out of interest, pick an SPA in the MTDP4 and do a live project from it. Nothing is stopping you from doing a live project and sending it directly to the Prime Minister or to the Chief Secretary's office or to the Foreign Secretary's office or to the National Planning Secretary's office. Nothing is stopping you there. Even if none of them look at it, at least you did something, because in 10 years' time, if somebody comes up with an idea, you better say, well, 10 years ago, me game only you said. So I encouraged you last week, do not stop there. These little projects you play, okay, please keep them or convert them into real things, na submitting go to government. Submitting go to government. So that they can there will be at least 1 or 2 people there looking for that information all by using. I know you may corporate copyright and this stuff, but that's fine. But I don't mind people using my ideas, because if they serve the common good, then that's good. Everyone benefits. It doesn't matter about copyright or something. That's my own point of view. Okay.
That is all. Thank you. Once again, thank you, Mr. Ko and Mr. Yagira, for your time.
All right, thank you, Yvonne, and thank you all those who shared their questions and comments. Unfortunately, time is our enemy, greatest enemy, and that is this is our last session for the semester and for week 15, and we thank all of you for your participation over the last 15 weeks. 15, not, yeah, not 15 and I think 13 weeks. Mr. Ako, we started in week 13 and week 13, sorry, week 3. The first 2 weeks we had our discussion on the unit outline and the learning guide, and then in week 3 we started our Zoom sessions with Mr. Ako. So 13 and 15, so it's been a really long semester, and I hope you've learned a lot from Mr. Ako, and not only from Mr. Ako, but for myself and your peers as well.
From
Peer
ourselves,
learning, peer-to-peer learning is very important, and all of you, I'm sure you've learned from each other and from Mr. Ako, and all these things that you've learned, you'll put them into practice and also apply them when you go out and make sure we help our country to go forward. Mr. Ako, you want to say something before I end the session? And we've been talking the whole evening, the last 2 hours. So.
No. It's time to talk now. It's time to talk from now onwards for the next couple of years. I'm very, very excited. Excited to have been part of this exciting group. And I must commend you all for keeping me on my toes all the time, because the way Mr. Egiora and his team planned this semester was different from the last 4 semesters. And all of us have been on our toes, and you asked me very questions, and then most times you've made me speechless to consider my thoughts going forward. So I'm just happy to be with you all, and I am hopeful that I can remember all your names in 20 years' time when you become departmental heads or you run international projects, and I can also look at your success and say I was part of that success also. Okay, but between now and next year, I'm looking forward to it. Just also talks that I've been re-engaged back with the Chief Secretary's office to plan APEC 2033. So I'll just plan him a couple of years and I'll lose him, we will run him when the time comes. So all the best, everyone. School good, study hard, exam time or time to go to place now. But remember your game plan, your national interest is your family's interest. Family must benefit. So every one of us had gone through all that. We were left home to go to school. Most of us came from families that couldn't afford cars, that allowed us to walk for 1 hour or 2 hours to go to school. And be proud of that, because when you start working, you carry more or picking blue car, go to school, and you have comments coming from your peers, you just tell them to go jump. I went through that process too, and my children now deserve to me will drop him all to school and pick him all up, because my parents never did that for me. I mean, me picking him all reverend. We would be lucky enough to see a 50 kina in a year. So, and always be a blessing to others. Like I said, don't worry about the copyright. Just throw your knowledge out, and if it changes a mindset, then we've done very, very well. So, Mr. Aguirre, thank you again for you, Plogata, and thank you for all the group leaders and the way you guys, all of you have carried yourself on. Your way of speaking have been very, very respectful and very courteous. Maintain that. That's diplomatic. That's diplomacy. For some of us, even I've been told by my mentors that I don't know how you passed foreign service school, but anyway, you passed finish. So continue doing that. God bless to everyone. Emphasize, Mr. Ejira. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akon. Thank you, everyone. You all have a good evening, and yes, welcome Zola and others who said thank you. All the best in your commissioning tomorrow. Make sure you wake up early, dress up properly, and go and attend the service and pray and say thank you to God for guiding you, taking you through all these 4 years, and now you're at the end of your journey and you'll be starting a new journey, and also pray for his guidance. So God is good. It's good that he has taken you through the 4 years, and also good that he has opened the opportunity for Mr. Ako to step into our academic scene and to contribute to our knowledge building and to help us, understand more about our country and our foreign service and international relations and all that. So thank you, Mr. Ako, and thank you, everyone. And
Mr. Ego, just
have a
for
great day.
just one final one for those of you joining government next year and will be working down in Moscow, you won't see the last of me. We'll be running training programs on policy and stuff from next year all the way into Bipla Yellow 2033. So looking forward to see you all in Waigani if you make it down this way.
Yes, thank you,
All
Mr.
the
Ako. The
best.
lines for
God bless again.
communication is open, so feel free to communicate with us, and let's all work together to build our nation. And I don't know, maybe some of you might be in the Australian Defence Force, Special Forces in the years to come, so that's positive changes. Okay, that's all. Plenty more suara to me say. Blogger and Jim Night Japan. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, no, but final one. Congratulations to Mr. Yego and all Broncos winners. Sorry, it took me a couple of days to congratulate you.
Broncos ya,
Let's
Broncos.
congratulate you Tuesday or some 20 days past them na. Bell sore finish na, we congratulate you. All the best, gentlemen and ladies. God bless
Thank you,
everyone.
Mr. Go. Have a blessed night.
Same to
Mr.
you.
Good night to you.
Okay, mate. Thank you.